Hey, by the way, this is part two of Let's Give It a Chance, The Mummy. Universal would block it if it was one long video, so I split it up into two parts so you could see it. The first part should be in the card right up here. It's also going to be in the description below. So watch that one first. That covers the intro and the first half of The Mummy, and then here's the second half and the analysis part. So, yeah, sorry about the problem, but thank you for sticking with me. Without further ado, here's the video. When Nick wakes up, he gets walked through Prodigium, which is just a monster version of that Sinister Six spin-off hallway from Amazing Spider-Man 2. Somehow, it's dumber than that, though, because it actually spoils the potential movies when you see the hand of the creature in the Black Lagoon in a jar. You already know what happens to him. Then we meet the Nick Fury of Prodigium, Dr. Jekyll. Yes, it is incredibly dumb and weird.
And the business being evil.
That's one of the stupidest lines I've ever heard in my entire life. Dr. Jekyll explains how they're going to fill Aminette's veins with mercury and then solidify it to kill her, and then they'll dissect her, which isn't really a bad idea when you think about it. In fact, it's smarter Prodigium to kill her. Considering all the other monsters they've apparently dealt with, they should have experience with this. But Jenny has to ruin it and goes, "But what about the history we don't know about?" to stop them from killing her. This is mad stupid because Aminette doesn't talk much, only speaks ancient Egyptian, has killed multiple people, has cursed two people, tried to kill both her and Nick already, and also, what motive does she have to tell you the truth? Plus, she already telepathically beamed Nick her whole life story, which Dr. Jekyll also already knows for some reason, so what would you learn? Earlier in the movie, you said that they had erased Aminette from history, but you know her history now, and you also know her father's, and presumably her successors. So, what new info could she tell you? This is one of the dumbest moments in a movie full of dumb moments, and that is saying something. Aminette then starts talking to Nick, saying the same information we already know and have already been told so many times by now. In my notes at this point, I just wrote, "Yo, we got a sand transition?" Tight. And that really shows where my mental headspace had been sent by this point in the movie. Then Aminette tries to seduce Nick to her side, but it gets interrupted with the mercury being put in her veins. And it's at this point you realize this movie's villain only works because of Nick being horny. And I can respect that. The mercury hurts Aminette, and I guess kind of hurts Nick as well because of the curse, and he yells at them and gets them to stop, and then Jekyll takes him and Jenny into another room to tell them about how Nick is cursed and he can't be saved, but he can save the world by stabbing himself with the cursed dagger and completing the ritual. That's both the villain's and the hero's plan, but you already know it's going to work when the hero does it, not the villain. That brings up another problem with this movie, and that's that Aminette is constantly trying to kill Nick, and we never get any information that says this ritual can be performed on him if he's dead, so we only know that it can happen if he's alive and stabbed with the dagger, so it makes no sense that she's really trying to kill him as much as she does. But then Nick gets mad because he doesn't want to die, and he steals Jekyll's medicine before he injects it, which causes him to Hulk out. And while Jenny and the other dude, who I forgot to mention, get out, Nick doesn't. And we see Mr. Hyde appear, and he really does not look good. I apologize for bringing up Amazing Spider-Man 2 again, but he has the same gross disease-looking skin as the Green Goblin, yet Mr. Hyde has an accent that I can't totally pin down.
They won't let me out, Nicholas. They never do.
And it's somewhere between Cockney and New York, and it kind of changes a little bit in there when he talks. We then see Nick and Hyde standing at the same height, which is hilarious because of how short Tom Cruise actually is. And it's like how Nick is called a younger man by Jekyll earlier, despite Cruise being older than Russell Crowe. Back to Hyde, despite how dumb he looks, I actually love this character for how little he takes things seriously. He tells Nick to give in to the curse, and the two of them could take over the world, and I mean, Aminette is your girlfriend and Hyde is your best friend? There are worse things, man. I might take that deal. Oh yeah, during this, Aminette sent a bug into this dude's brain to mind control him. I don't even have the effort to deal with that, but now she's getting free. This was all because she sensed the dagger's gem being discovered by Prodigium in the place from the beginning. But shouldn't she have known where it was anyway? She knew about the dagger, and that's just a special blade, not even a friggin' infinity stone. And she only seems to know about it when they break open the tomb holding it, and they never say there's like a curse or a spell casting it so that she won't be able to find this gem, so what gives? Why only now? But you know, if the movie doesn't even care about its own continuity, why should I? By the way, Jenny is trying to get back into the room with Nick and Hyde, and in the process hits a dude with the Book of the Dead in the only reference this movie has to the original Mummy series. Nick ends up giving Hyde his drugs to turn him back into Jekyll, and then he and Jenny start trying to leave, and Nick just beats up this poor random dude along the way. I mean, my guy wasn't even doing anything, and he got clocked by Tom Cruise. Aminette then makes some dinosaur noises because, and then the glass all explodes in the building. We get some classic Tom Cruise running as he escapes into the streets of London, but so does Amunet, who summons a bunch of sand to chase our heroes. But the thing is, there isn't sand in London, and you see her breaking windows, meaning she is turning glass back into sand and literally defies all laws of physics, and she only uses it to make a giant sand face. Well, to be fair, this is the same person who made a deal with the devil to kill a baby, so actually this is in character, I'll give them that. At some point, a bus gets thrown at them and Nick jumps inside of it, where he's visited by Ghost Spidey again with some really poor ADR.
Wow, that was intense.
The scene just ends there, so I guess the sandstorm just kind of stopped. Also, both Jenny and Nick, while they were right next to each other, just end up in the subway, separate from each other. Neither of them is showing how they get there. And then Nick gets attacked by more zombies. But again, why is Amunet still trying to kill him? She needs him to complete the ritual. We haven't been told anything otherwise. Same with the sandstorm in the bus. What if he had just gotten squished? What then? It doesn't matter though, as Nick goes full Chris Redfield here, and he destroys some zombies. He also teleports to Jenny again, despite the fact that they're walking through giant subway tunnels, and neither of them have any clue how to get to the friggin' catacombs holding the Crusaders. Amunet has also teleported into the subway by now, and these soldiers do not prove my point on the guns because they don't manage to hit her even when she's at point blank range. Maybe they do, but there's no even like Terminator or Predator where the bullets bounce off. It's just like she's not fazed by anything. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Amunet turned all the Crusader corpses into zombies, despite not even being near them when it first happened, and the fact that that goes against everything the movie has already shown us. But again, if they don't care, why should I care? Just ignore that though, because there's new stimulus when Nick and Jenny get tackled into a flooded part of the subway. Again, this is the second time Nick gets tackled in this movie by a zombie, and it really does not make it any less funny. They kick the zombie off of them and swim back up to the open air once he sinks, but Amunet just straight up teleports behind Jenny. For real this time, not just me making excuses for the writers needing to move the plot along. And while it looks great in the trailers, it does not look incredible here. Amunet kidnaps Jenny, and Nick tries to swim after her, and can somehow hold his breath for a super long time, despite having just gotten in a fight with Mr. Hyde, and a zombie, and ran through a sandstorm, and the fact that he definitely would not be able to hold his breath that long. He manages to do it. Then he goes back down and keeps swimming, somehow through this gross sewer water, and he can see through it perfectly. None of that matters though, because we get the funniest part of the movie when it shows a whole bunch of Crusader zombies swimming breaststroke behind Tom Cruise. And it is legitimately one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I kind of wish we got more of this in the movie. Conveniently, the sewer system connects to the Crusader room, but oh no, Jenny's dead! I mean, it's not like she could have just had water in her lungs and be passed out, but nope, definitely dead. Now it's just Amunet and Nick, and I say he should just cut his losses and get with the hot mummy. But he still tries to fight her. She obviously beats him up, and at one point even pimp slaps him, but he ends up stealing the magic dagger, trying to reinforce this thief motif that they did not put any effort into. But if you thought there was going to be any weight to this big finale, this is the line that sets it all up.
I'm sorry. We're just never gonna happen. And it's not me. It's you.
Nick manages to get back and crack the rock once, and then Amunet gives him the friggin' Palpatine dark side of the Force speech of all things, and he just stabs himself. And Amunet's plan works, as his eyes split and he gets some awful looking CGI, but with the thought of a conversation from like 20 minutes ago, he breaks free. Pretty weak spell if you ask me. Then he and Amunet fight for about 10 seconds, until he sucks the soul out of her, which I wish I could do, and then yells at Jenny while looking like Venom, trying to get her to come back to life.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up out of your sleep! Wake up! Wake up out of your sleep!
She does, somehow, and then Nick hides in the shadows while saying things that are the equivalent of those cringy posts that talk about letting the demons loose. And then we get an ending narration by the one and only Dr. Jekyll. Basically, he says that Nick has fused with Venom and that he can be good or evil. Then we see that Nick brought Spider-Man back to life, and he really does not seem to be that jazzed about it.
I'm really glad to be here. I mean, thank you for bringing me back to life and everything, Nick, but what are we even doing here?
And they set off for more adventures, presumably superpowered war crimes. And as they ride off towards the pyramids, Nick's horse is kicking up a sandstorm behind him. Get it? Because symbolism? All in all, I can't wait for the sequel and to see where the Dark Universe goes next. There was a lot that happened in The Mummy, and it tried to accomplish a lot of things. But what parts did it do well? Easily the best thing about the movie is that it is really entertaining. Like, it may not always make sense in the actions of characters, or why things are happening, but there's almost always something happening. Plus, if you're watching with your friends, there are a ton of great things to joke and have some good laughs about, especially in the downtime with the conversations, because, those are just filled with stupid dialogue.
Means forbidden knowledge, like a curse.
Around here, that's just another word for treasure.
There's also a fair amount of detail put into certain things, at least at times. Hearing Aminette's raspy breathing from her not-healed lungs, or seeing dust burst from the mummified cops, who I should probably stop calling zombies, are some great but completely superfluous details they decided to include. And maybe the reason that Dr. Jekyll had to take his medicine so quickly after previous doses, a reference to how his changes became more rapid within the original story, or maybe I'm just looking too deep into it. But without more Dark Universe entries, we'll never know. One thing I really don't see people talk about is the score, which is actually longer than the movie by 10 minutes. It does a great job working the Egyptian style into the air of an action movie score, and it really pops off at certain points. I've also got to respect the movie for at least trying something new with the Mummy series. It would have been way easier to just rehash the original or one of its sequels, but instead they made some changes. And while they may not have worked entirely, or a lot of the time, I can at least commend them for trying. The performances, while a little hammy at times, aren't the worst, and you can tell the actors were at least having fun a lot of the time. While there isn't any one part of the movie that's really truly spectacular, I do think there's more good bits and pieces in the movie that people give it credit for. Plus, it gave us Aminette, so is it really that bad? Yeah. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but The Mummy is not a good movie. It's not awful, but in its current form, it really cannot be called a good movie. And that's kind of sad, because I feel like there's a good movie hidden within here. Not a great one, but a good one. If it were more streamlined, had less crazy stuff put in just to add to tension or progress the plot, took focus off Prodigium and stopped it from killing the tension and pace at the very end, and maybe if it actually took place in Egypt, it would have been better received and the Dark Universe would still be thriving today. The thing is, the original Mummy movies weren't some incredible cinema. They were basically just Indiana Jones ripoffs. But the reason people liked them is because they were fun and they had personality. This version of The Mummy is pretty by the numbers for an action movie, but for all the uniqueness they bring in with Aminette, they shot themselves in the foot by not knowing how to write the stuff involved with her cohesively. I am a huge fan of movies like Jason Bourne and the Fast and the Furious series, not because of their cinematic virtues, but because they are fun and entertaining series, and I wish The Mummy had joined their ranks. However, if you've got friends with you, The Mummy will become one of the most fun movies to watch. This is a great movie to clown on and make jokes throughout. Trust me, I would know. My friends and I saw it in theaters when it came out, and made fun of it the whole way through. It's honestly one of my favorite movie-going experiences ever. And don't worry, nobody else was in the theater, I wouldn't talk with others there. Except for when I watched the live-action Lion King. My brain would have exploded if I had watched that without mocking it the whole way through. Back on topic though, The Mummy is not a good movie, but it is a fun one. Gather some friends and get ready for a night of laughs when you put this bad boy on. If you've made it here to the end, I just want to say thank you for watching the first episode of Let's Give It a Chance. I chose The Mummy because it's a much maligned movie that I kind of love in a strange way, and today is the 3rd anniversary of its release, so happy birthday. On its birthday, you might want to check out the official Dark Universe Twitter account, because it's just so funny to me. They have 2 tweets, one of which is like, the cast, but it's clearly photoshopped in, like Russell Crowe has a cane that was clearly photoshopped out in that picture. It's a great little time capsule right there. If this video gets 15 likes, I'll take a look at the video game made by WayForward, the developers of the Shantae series, that is apparently much better than the movie itself. Also, if there's a particular topic you want me to cover for this series, let me know in the comments and I'll be glad to take a look. I'd love to know what you thought about The Mummy if you've actually seen it. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more videos like this one, and until next time, goodbye.